and welcome back to TLDR. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe, riding with me as always. I almost went with the Pineapple Boys intro again.
Oh my God, what is the matter with you?
But with me as always is my hunk in crime and Nick. Together, you and I are the official Grant Williams fan club of the DSG.
Look at that. Wow. Yep. Well done. Look at that. That is some
That's
serious
what threw me up,
craftsmanship.
so I was trying to find it and cut it so it would drop on. We dropped that on cue. But
Yes. We're going to have to change the whole show background. Never mind just yours specifically.
right,
Well done,
right.
sir.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm going to go back and we're gonna fix this here for the people watching, because I am not talking about Grant Williams today.
We're not? Shit.
Well, it's a big game tonight. Big game tonight. Looking forward to
It
it.
is a big game for the Celtics. That's for damn sure. But it's also a big day for us because we're talking about some indie comics that we've been actually, I've been dying to talk about mine for a long time. There's a whole thing going on with yours, and we will get to that for sure. But first, for those who are new to the show, if you're coming across us on Twitter or over on YouTube, wherever, maybe Joe's Twitch, if you prefer listening to podcasts in audio form, we're available on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Geeks Worldwide, SoundCloud, Audible, Amazon Music, wherever you guys find your podcasts, especially all the major ones, you're going to find us on all of them. So make sure you subscribe, listen there, rate, review. 5 stars is very much appreciated. And also tell a fellow comic book reader, because every time we see reviews or when we talk to people, they're like, oh, we love how you guys do it because you have people on the show and then you have analysis and then you like a lot of stuff. Unlike most other comic shows where it seems like, I don't listen to too many of them, it seems like a lot of people like to hate on the comics that we get now. Well, I know the bright side doesn't. I also know that we don't. So it's like there's not that much of that out there. So make sure
we get a few we might not be so bright on today, but we'll get to that.
There are obviously exceptions to the rule. Yes, of course. But you can't love everything or like everything. Otherwise, you're not even. What are you even doing at that point? But as a friend of ours likes to say, most things are fine. Anyways, yes. Let's actually a little overdue on this, but we just did the Moon Knight review over on Change My Mind, and I know Dork's doing it at some point, and Mac and Goo I think has done theirs already.
They did the 21 questions on it. Yeah.
You finally watched Moon Knight, right?
I sure did.
And
I loved it. It was excellent. I thought it was excellent. It was. I think I was telling this before we went on. Like, I don't have a problem with Marvel doing things that aren't a part of the MCU. Just like let us know. Like it, like Moon Knight never gave us the sense that it was supposed to be intertwined in with what's currently going on in the MCU. And I said this before, it doesn't need to be. I just want really good storytelling. This is a character that I am unfamiliar with or was unfamiliar with, but you've talked about him enough on the show. I went ahead and read Lemire's run on this and got a greater appreciation for the character, which had I been a little quicker watching the shows, I wouldn't have made the dumb comment of, well, the show's not really like the book, but then it kind of really is. But I hadn't gotten to that point yet. So
man, that was crazy.
It's okay. We got there. There. I was just an episode behind. But I thought Oscar Isaac killed it, and while, we didn't get a ton of I understand the gripes people have with the show. Maybe they didn't like the action scenes, or they didn't think there was enough action. We didn't get enough Moon Knight, but I just thought it told a really good story, start to finish. And I thought Isaac's performance, especially in those last 2 episodes, were great. And so I was really high. I'm probably higher on this than most. I think you and I are pretty much in lockstep here.
Well, your grade is?
I give it a 90. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And I gave it an 89, so a slight tick lower than you. I mean, one of the things is, especially as I've talked about it with Wes about it quite a bit, but even when Lauren was watching it with me, he's like, we're not getting as much of that Moon Knight action. And actually, one of our friends of the DSG, the other Billy D, the better Billy D, some might say, he was like, where's we're not getting as much Moon Knight in his costume, and like this is things like that are why I say read comics. I understand it's not for everybody, but if you are annoyed with that stuff and you like these stories and you want more of these characters, you don't run into this bullshit stuff that happens with actors. You don't. It happened like in the comics. You get Moon Knight in his Mr. Knight outfit, and you get him in his Moon Knight outfit, and then you barely ever see him as Mark Spector. I mean, in the past, sure, you saw him as that, and Lockley. and Stephen Grant mixed in, but it's totally different in that regard. But still, I mean, it's that and like the action we could have used more. I do like. I think Wes has put it really well, calling it yada 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 with Spectre when his like eyes start freaking out. I do like that a lot, but where that was around a ton, you could have sacrificed that a couple times to get in a little more action. I think it would have gone a long way for not just me, but like people who don't have that appreciation for that sort of thing. With
you
this
could have
character.
given us one yada. He does the thing where he closes his eyes, and then the next shot is just him mid fight scene. Not through the whole fight scene, just the middle or towards the end of it, right? And him finishing up, and then going like what, and then yada yada yada. Like they could have done that. They didn't have to give us the full yada yada. Just give us a yada, right?
Yes,
and that could have satisfied, I think, a lot of people. I liked, the end, like with the fight scene we got where they sort of bounced between Moon Knight and whatever you call it, Mr. Knight or whatever, like Grant and Spectre, like boom, you'd see one shot of him coming in as Moon Knight, and then boom, like the next shot is him as Stephen Grant fight. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool.
It was really cool. And then the ending. So I will say this, until we got the end credits or the mid credit scene, I was like, that's how they're going to end it. Like that, it was very abrupt for me. Like, I was like, that is not satisfying at all. And that would have knocked things down quite a bit for me. But then we get the end credit scene. If you haven't watched Moon Knight yet, I mean, what are you doing with your life? But holy crap, when they got Lockley in the mix, I was like, as it's going, I'm like, is this him? Like, he doesn't speak Spanish in the comics, so like, I don't care, but is this him? Is it for sure? And I saw Isaac bring Ethan Hawke's character in to the limo. I was like, it didn't look like his face really from the side to me. Maybe it's just me in that moment, but once we get in the car and we see Khonshu, it's like, oh yeah, it's gotta be Lockley. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
And then pop.
Around, and he's got that little Peaky Blinders hat, you know what I mean? The scally cap on and the bop bop. And then as they're driving away, the license plate says Spectre.
Awesome.
Just
awesome.
That's the other thing they did really well. And not just with, Isaac's performance, but I think the writing of it is the way they dealt with the personality, the different personalities and shifting from one to the other. And then, so how you're telling a story, and we had no idea really as a viewer of the third personality there. And then the way, like, so you think it's ending right abruptly, and then it introduces it as like, oh fuck, Mark is not as in control of shit as you think. And it was fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic. I was really happy with it. I am going to rewatch it because, like, with Moon Knight, there's a lot going on, and it's very trippy. It's just like reading the comics. So I really enjoyed it. And in the end, I think it's my number 3 show of the Marvel Disney shows that we've gotten.
So I'd go WandaVision, Hawkeye, or
Moon Knight.
Hawkeye, WandaVision, whatever and then Moon Knight.
That's where I'm at too. WandaVision, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. What if? That's my
as much as I talk shit about Loki, I think I'd still put Loki ahead of Falcon Winter Soldier.
That's fine. That's, I mean, hey, I'm clearly, you and I are similar in some ways on this, but like, you and I are the most similar, I think I am with anybody on these lists. So, because everybody else in the DSG has,
it was just a lot of, I think, nothing to get you to the point where Sam gets the shield. Like, we already knew it was going to happen, and all this, but I thought the Isaiah Washington stuff was great. I thought that was a great thing. And then watching US Agent sort of devolve, I thought
Isaiah Bradley, you mean?
Isaiah Bradley, Isaiah, sorry about that.
How dare you?
I know, right? Like, there was definitely some good things about it. It was just, again, you know what? As we talked about before, this would have been a great Disney Plus exclusive movie. You could have told that entire series in 2.5 hours.
That's what I might say. You could say you turn that into a movie. I could see that one being made into a movie a little more quickly. But I love what they did with Winter Soldier in that series. Like, he needed that bit of redemption, and it was much, instead of like being the sad Bucky Barnes that he'd been for a while.
But you could have 100%. And I think if had it been a movie, I think maybe it's a little higher up because you cut out a lot of the fluff.
Maybe. See, for me with Loki, I just felt for a long time like where that's like, generally speaking, I am not like, what does this have to do with the larger MCU and all this stuff? But that was really, really the whole thing with Loki. And then as we're watching it, it's like,
Loki's
okay,
all about the finale.
right. That's what I mean.
Right.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, and I'm sorry, like I appreciate it, and it definitely brought it up a bunch of points for me. But that was the only show where I was like, for a while, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you just need the finale, but I'll say the impact of that finale,
Yeah.
I think, moved you much farther into where the MCU is going than anything Falcon Winter Soldier did, anything that Doctor
Any of them.
Strange did.
Any of
Right.
them. Anything that
Yeah.
like that was of this like phase 4 era, the most important thing has to be Loki at this point, right?
Well, it's WandaVision, like it's WandaVision in the sense that getting her to become the Scarlet Witch, I think that was an important thing. But
Okay.
yes, Loki did because it introduced at least what we think is going to be the next big bad.
When you're
Now,
talking about, but when you're talking about the connective tissues, I mean, it's Loki,
yeah,
it's Spider-Man, No Way Home, because obviously you're getting the multiversal stuff mixed in, taking another
yeah, but
step
at
of it.
at this point now, you don't even need that movie
It's true.
because of what you get from Doctor Strange.
So then it's Doctor Strange's number
Because
2
Doctor
then.
Strange doesn't acknowledge any other than a sentence of what happened in Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Right? You could
But so I'm
take
saying it's only
Spider-Man.
those 3.
You could take Spider-Man completely. I mean, it's a great movie, but you could take it out of the equation. This was my whole beef when we got on this whole Twitter thing. Like the MCU in Phase 4 hasn't done diddly shit in terms of taking us to where we're really going. Right? Loki's done that the most out of anything.
Hmm.
Right? You could take Eternals out of the equation. You could take Spider-Man out of the equation. You could take, I mean, Shang-Chi's an origin story. Didn't advance anything, just introduced the character. But you know what I mean? Like Loki
I
at
think
least says, "Here is Kang."
Sure, but I think Eternals down the line will have some importance. I do think that with some of these things, you're going to see that like where
Well, yeah,
there's
they'll
more.
probably retcon something and make it important, like they did with Thor 2.
I mean, maybe, or maybe they were just trying to set the stage and introduce the characters. Look, I don't have Eternals. It does not have a high grade for me, like, especially for relative to the MCU. But at the same time, like it was fine. Like that. When I think fine, I'm thinking like B minus, C
I'm not
plus. Like
talking about the quality of the movie. I'm talking about sort of the storytelling. And I know people say, "Oh, Phase 4 is a reset." We got to kind of start from scratch here, and Phase 4 is replicating what Phase 1 has done. Phase 1 did it in 5 movies. And by the time we got Avengers, man, we knew we were cooking with fucking gas. We knew exactly what we were headed to. If you look at Phase 4 now, we're 8 properties in.
I
And we
forgot
are,
about I forgot about
right?
your Twitter fight that you had the other day
Right.
with all that stuff. Yeah,
And
you're still.
we're 8 properties in, and it's like, is it Kang? I mean, so like this puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Thor and Love and Thunder. Because I mean, I know it's going to deliver. Right,
Okay.
because of Taika Waititi and what he's done with and we've got the Guardians. Like I have high expectations. I'm not nearly as worried about, but with who's the guy? It's Gore the God Butcher, right?
Yep.
They've got to introduce. They've got to introduce something big, whether it's post credit scene, mid credit scene. What they do. I think what they do with Gore the God Butcher, is going to be is got to be big.
Think it's
Right?
going to be null?
If we I mean my hope my dreams is that it's null, but if it's not, we have to get Kang in this movie, or it's like MCU shit or get off the fucking pot. You're wasting everyone's time at this point.
Okay.
Right,
Again,
because now we'll be 9 movies in with major properties involved, and it's like where are we going?
This is where again I've told you, like we talked about it last time, and I know you had like the whole Twitter thing going on. I did not jump in because like I'm not in that same camp. I'm not, and I've said it to you.
Well, I mean, at face value, these movies are good, right? They're not making shit movies. Like Doctor Strange wasn't a shit movie. I enjoyed it. Spider-Man was not a shit movie.
We all know you're a big Raimi fan,
right? But like what the MCU is doing here is it's telling a story, right? Like it's everything, what they've done what they did for the first 20 something movies is each thing, once they really found their stride, each property built upon itself. They were moving towards something bigger and grander, and that led us to Infinity War and Endgame. They've set that bar now. That's the expectation. And I don't say that to mean like every movie has to be Endgame or Infinity War, but I say that, meaning the sense that they set the bar like their story, each movie, each property needs to find a way to build upon the story that was told before them and keep moving us forward. Right? They have to keep, it doesn't, and the whole movie, like I said, make better use. That's what they did so well through the first three phases. It was the mid and end credit scenes. We got a tease of an Infinity Stone. We got the tease of Thanos without really seeing Thanos at first, right? Like each thing, like we got like the teases of Wanda and fucking Quicksilver, right? They just nailed it, and they've just had a lot of missteps or failed opportunities, and then and what we didn't really get a lot of in the first three phases of, oh well, we were thinking of doing this, but we didn't really do that.
Well, that's
We're getting a lot of that in phase four.
I don't have that. I will say, like hearing the Deadpool stuff, and I know like we said one thing on Change My Mind, and Goo told us it was they didn't film it, but they had it written up and all this stuff. Like don't. Like it's like in the end, like this is where like the Snyder stuff, it's just like, dude, like if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. And deleted scenes and stuff like that, like it's those, that's not like part of it all. Like it didn't happen. It's sure if it's funny, if it's bloopers and stuff, but like, or if it's a funny interaction, but just like I'm done. I'm tired of those things. But we got to get to catching up, talk about the actual books. So why don't you start us off? I know you had a couple.
So just a couple. Caught up on the Scorched. Fantastic. I mean, I read Scorched 4 last week, so I read the 5th issue of Scorched the other day. Absolutely fucking love it. I mean, Sean wasn't kidding when he was on the show. He talked about just having a lot of fun and these characters not all getting along with Spawn. And we see that in full force. That was
good
great
stuff.
And then West of Sundown. I read the first issue really from Vault Comics. Really loved it. The second issue was even better than the first. So they got a nice little sort of vampire horror story book going on here. Absolutely digging it. Great stuff.
Do you want dibs on that one?
I mean, if you can find your copy and you want to read it, go ahead. But you let me know.
No, you take it. You take it. I mean, like it's one that's not even remotely on my radar. So that one's all yours. All right, for me, I got Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood issue 1 that came out last week. It was solid. You're getting 3 stories in there. Hickman. Some of it's a little bit weird, but it was solid. Then we got the return of 2 books that I love and have talked about on this show. One from AWA, Devil's Highway, Volume 2, Issue 1. This is one of my favorite series. Of course, this is by our guy, Benjamin Percy, and we first had him on the show. Of course, recently we had him talk about Ghost Rider and Wolverine, but we also, a while back, had him talk about Devil's Highway and had him talk about Year Zero, right, which I still got to read that one from AWA. Fantastic. But really enjoyed this. The first trade is also in collected, is available in collected edition, but his first issue was awesome, kind of, and it wasn't really like too much of a reset. Like it's more just like telling you a little bit, it's getting you set up for the next thing. You're dealing with the same individuals, the same like crime, like the larger crime syndicate. Not the same exact individuals from last time, but we still have the 2 main characters and everything. And it's a good tease at the end. And also, if you look at the cover for the second issue, Joe, it's kind of a lot. Yeah. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah. So, holy smokes.
Very excited. Really enjoyed that one. But then, I mean, just as excited, Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside, of course, from Aftershock. Now, with Devil's Highway, like you have like a pretty clear vision of what Benjamin Percy is going to do with that story going forward. Like after reading the first trade, and of course, Brent Schuvner is the artist on that. But when it came to Bunny Mask, and that's Paul Tobin and Andrea Moody, like I didn't know exactly what they wanted to do in this second arc, in the second volume with this character. I thought there was a lot of potential, and I absolutely enjoyed the first issue of this new start. The Hollow Inside is the subtitle for this new one. And I'll tell you what, like we see Bunny Mask kind of out in the world now and do what she's trying to do. And man, it's like it's kind of like, I want to say she's kind of like a fucked up Robin Hood in a way. Like it's not money, but takes the bad from the poor and gives that shit to the rich. If that
Ha!
makes sense, it's like the inverse Robin Hood. That's what it is. And then like the like after everything you've kind of read in the first volume of this, the last few pages are also kind of just like, fuck, man. Like the dude who's like the main character, the main dude in this story. It's like he's a psychologist. He's so fucked up. He's so like
Yep.
he's in such a hole right now, and I just don't know how it's going to work out for him at all in the end. And Bunny Mask is just a great, very odd, intimidating looking character.
You'll love this. We were at Newbury Comics today, and because I don't typically pick up most DC books, but I went back and I picked up the second issue, and I bought today's issue of this week's issue of Batman and Superman World's Finest only because I've heard it's really good, and I think my nephew will like it. So I'm buying physical copies so I can give them to him. So we were there today, and I'm looking, because all they had were the DC books for new this week. And then Violet's going through, she's looking at all the other books, and she picks up one of the covers of Bunny Mask.
No.
She goes, "Oh, Dad, this looks like a good one. You want to get this?" I said, "Put that back in. Put that back right now."
I'm going to get her a Bunny Mask for her birthday.
No, I'll fucking kill you.
Nightmare fuel. Oh, my God. That would be awful. Awesome stuff. Awesome book. I love it. If you're a horror comics fan, pick that up, for the first trade of that up, and catch up right now, so that way you can enjoy the fun along with me, because I love Bunny Mask. One of my favorite books I've done on this show. If we had to do a list, I feel like I can comfortably say it would be in my top 10. We love all the books we've talked about on here, but I mean, that one's horror. In terms of horror, I think that is my number one that I've done. But anyways, it's time for us to look into, I guess, the present now and talk about or the future, kind of. I don't know. What's new this week in Comic Show? Why don't you start us off with Marvel and what we got from them?
All right. So we have Thor 25. This is part of the Banner War that's going on. Wolverine 21, which fuck, I meant to read that one for today and I didn't get to. Bats Benjamin Percy. It's been excellent. X-Force 28, Immortal X-Men number 2, X-Men Red number 2, Eternals 12, Venom Lethal Protector 2, Silk 5, which I've got to go back. I'm going to binge all these because I've been dying. I've been just got behind on that one. Spider-Punk 2, a lot of number 2s this week. Wolverine Patch number 2, Star Wars Han Solo and Chewbacca number 2, Savage Avengers 1, Iron Fist 3, Elektra Black, White, and Blood number 4, The Marvels number 10, Excellent number 3, Marvel Voices Identity number 1, and Nicholas, there was one book outside of Wolverine that I was really looking forward to on this list, and it was Savage Avengers number 1, and I did not care for it.
No, I didn't either. I would say this is like, probably, I don't know, like a 6.5. I want to say 7 because the art was good, but the story on it, you didn't like the art?
I'll tell you what, I didn't even bother finishing it.
Wow.
So
okay.
the art was great. My beef wasn't with any of that. The problem was there was two things. One is that there was too much going on. It didn't know what it was. It was just all over the place. You're here, you're there. You got a ton of characters here. You got a ton of characters here. It didn't know what it wanted to be. It was all over the place, and there was too much fucking words.
Yeah, I think as I say it now, like I was holding back on the grade because like the art is not a problem at all in this.
No.
It's just the way it's written. There's a lot of like narration, and it's like an omniscient third narration,
Yeah,
and I don't really.
It was brutal. I couldn't do it.
Sometimes that works, but it was really slow. Obviously, with Savage Avengers, Conan whatever, it makes sense that he's going to kind of be more at the center. But then everything else is like little introduction here to these other characters to set things up. Little introduction here to these other characters to set things up. With the other Savage Avengers, where you're mixing in like Punisher and was it Punisher, Wolverine, Venom, Conan, and I can't remember who else was in it, but it's like that was a lot more fluid.
Was that the 2018 Jerry Dugan run? I think. Yeah, he had Dr. Doom in there. That was excellent.
Yes, I didn't finish it, but I
didn't finish it either. But that was one of the books I had to,
Yep, that's right. Yep, I remember saying that.
But like, what was great about that was it was almost a Conan book, with then these other characters like along, like you're telling
Mm.
the story, and
Yeah.
it made sense and it worked. It knew it was in a lane. It fucking drove that lane perfectly, right?
Hmm. Yeah. It
This
was.
one is just, you're fucking going here, you're going that way, you're going this way. Like
Yeah. It,
Electra didn't make sense for me. I didn't even finish it. I just said,
well, you didn't miss much. So I would probably actually give this like a 6, and a lot of that weight is being carried by the art because the artist does
yeah,
not deserve to get dragged in any of that. I didn't get to read most of the other Marvel stuff. But like because I'm going to be looking at some of these for comic of the week because when we got a Moral X-Men issue 1, I'm pretty sure that I had that as comic of the week, so I'm excited for that. Wolverine patch, the first one stunk, and I'm
yeah.
going to read the second one, but I'm probably not. I'm like because we get the review copies, but X-Men Red was awesome. I'm excited for the Thor stuff and obviously Wolverine too. But speaking of the comic of the week, for me, the leader in the clubhouse right now, or the early favorite, is coming from DC Comics Show. Of course, we got Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue 3. You mentioned that. That's drawn by Dan Mora, and I know that's a big reason why people want to give that one a look. Of course, we got Wonder Woman Evolution issue 7, Shadow Warzone issue 1, which is like it's just it's adding another layer to the Shadow War, and I've been enjoying that event. I think it's been done really well. We got some Otto Schmidt art in here too with Black Canary, which is cool. Then we got a couple books that we do want to dig into more, but Fables. What's going on with you in Fables?
So I highlighted this because Keefe of the Richard Milhouse Keefe of the Dork podcast couldn't stop talking about this book on Sunday. He loves it. He loves this series. I mean, it's Fables 151. I had no idea it was coming out this week. I know he's mentioned it before, but I've never really sunk my teeth into it. He absolutely loves it, and was talking about it. Really sold me on it. So I just thought it was kind of ironic that we were talking about it Sunday at Idle Hands during the Dork podcast featuring Mac and Goo and the top 25 comic book movies, which we could touch on in a second here. But
Yep.
I just thought it was ironic that he was talking about it and it dropped this week. So I've got it. It's on Hoopla. I've got it, the first volume. I'm going to give it a go, and hopefully we can talk about it on the show at some point.
Good. I'm excited for it. And yeah, I do. Rich has that is one of his absolute favorites. So can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. And I have the master list. Our friend, of course, from the Mac and Goo program, Mac, he gave me this for Change My Mind. And we talked about it a little more there, but we'll get to that towards the end of the show. We've done enough dilly dallying it off the top here. So we got Batman the Night issue 5, and then we got Nightwing 92. Which one do you want to weigh in on first?
Well, let's start with Batman first because Nightwing really, I mean, both these books I love, but Nightwing was something else. But this just continues to be, every week that, when it comes out, I want to fucking talk about it because Zdarsky's killing it. And what we got a lot in this issue was a lot of Bruce Wayne, self-doubt, a lot of, like him just being like coming second fiddle to someone and stumbling and fumbling and fucking up, which was great. And we get introduced to a character who I thought she was excellent in this issue. And it sort of gives us like an origin of the Batcave.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It does.
Right?
That, yes.
Not like we don't see the Batcave in this, but like
the genesis of it.
The genesis of it, like where he got the idea of doing a Batcave, and it's setting up, like, can you be someone who can be two people at once? Can you wear a quote unquote mask and be someone else? So just the way, he's methodically building, the character of Batman through missteps and learning and all mistakes and all this stuff. It's very layered so that when the moment comes in this series, which I'd imagine is in the last issue, you got to think issue 10 is when we finally actually see Batman in this book. It's just going to be such an awesome build up to that. So get the compendium, which is the first 3 issues.
So weird.
But read it, find it. It's just absolutely fantastic.
So the character that Joe's referring to that we meet in this her name is Avery Oblonsky, who's supposedly ex-KGB, although there's no such thing really as ex-KGB. But she's an awesome character, and you're right, like what we get with Batman too. And there's I'm sure some people, if you look up Zdarsky's run with Batman right now and what he's doing in this little story here, like there is another wrinkle that's thrown into Batman's history in this, where people are like, is Batman is he leaning there's a moment that he has with his friend, and it led people to asking questions, myself included. So I'm curious to see what Zdarsky does with that, because I do think after that moment we see that it's kind of more of a one-sided thing, but we'll see what happens. I'm interested in seeing how Zdarsky interprets it.
So I'll just give you my quick take on that, because I think I know what moment you're talking about. Is that you earlier in the issue, his buddy Anton says, you've got to do whatever it takes, right? And and being able to read people, and I think Bruce got a read on him and used that to his advantage to get what he needed to get.
That's a good point.
So
that's
a
really good point. And that's what Batman is supposed to be in there. Like that's when people say, "Oh, he won't kill," but it's like he does all the other. He does a bunch of other messed up stuff.
Like that was the craftiest thing that character has done in this series so far, to not cheat to get ahead, but it's the first time where he was playing chess with someone and he set them up big time.
He did. And it was like you said, to see the guy who's always leaving midway through a conversation and no one has any idea, to be as clunky as he is right now. To me, it's just this is, if you're a longtime Batman fan, which of course you're listening to the show, you are more than likely, this is something you're going to want to read, at least the way things are going so far. The first 5 issues have been awesome, but the best comic to come out of DC this week, no questions asked, was Nightwing 92. And we do have Redondo back on art for this story.
Oh, tremendous.
And of course, Tom Taylor is writing all this, but you lead us off here.
Well, there's been this really wild ride we've had with Nightwing, right? Where it was going, and then it kind of comes to an abrupt halt, and then easing back into it, after whatever the fucking event was. I can't even fucking remember anymore.
Oh, it's not Shadow War. That's one that's going on right now.
It
Alpha
doesn't matter.
War? No,
yeah,
I don't know.
Whatever. But he's done such a great job of getting back to that point. But it wasn't we're telling this great story, we're gonna bring it to a halt, and then we're gonna go right back into it. It's just been this subtle build for the last several issues that just keeps getting better and better and better, and where we're at, just I just love seeing it. And then you get a great little emotional moment, at the end here. But that scene with the statue and then the panels that followed it.
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Yep. Excellent.
The stuff with what we get at the end is great. We get a nice little tease for stuff from more what's to come. Yeah. But the game that's being played right now involving Dick Grayson throughout all of it is what's really been I know you were on that from day one, where that was this is what I want. Yeah. And I've enjoyed it as well. And I think they took another step forward with it. And other characters that we're seeing involved throughout the course of this story. So I can't speak highly enough of this first issue. I mean, this 92nd issue of this story. I'm just thinking, as you're going through it all, Joe, it's if someone was to there aren't many times where this happens, but you run into a comic and it's oh, there's so many issues of this. If I'm a new reader, how am I going to go and get involved in this? Look, you go and get a Spark Notes on what happened with Dick when he got shot. And then so that way you're up to speed on what happened there. And then from there, just read what Taylor has written so far, because
I didn't even do that. I just got whatever vague stuff that you would talk about on the show, leading on, and I didn't even bother with it. I just read. I just picked up Taylor's first issue, and because they kind of mentioned some stuff that had happened to him, and he's rebounding, but it's just so good. Because when did Taylor pick it up? 78. That was his first issue.
78, I think it was. But I'm saying for those who are maybe new to the show and haven't heard every time when I've complained about Rick Grayson, we're seeing the other posts out there.
Just go back and find the first volume, find the first trade of Taylor's run, and just pick it up and read it. You'll be fine.
There you go. But like what they've done with this character, where they tried to make him badass like before with the Rick Grayson stuff and kind of gritty. Now they've done it more with like the family stuff and like the quality of like Dick Grayson. I mean, when you look at all the Robins and the whole Bat family, like he might be the best person of them all, and they're really doing a lot with that. And I think in this age, it's so hard to do that now. Like everybody says about Superman, I can't do it. Like he's not interesting. I know part of it's the overpoweredness, but like with Nightwing, they're doing an awesome job with
Well,
it.
and Taylor's doing a great job with John Kent too. He's doing a tremendous job with John Kent.
Right.
But I think what really also got me too was this was again another really emotional issue. We got that flashback scene of Dick as a young Robin, and then with Batman, and then with Alfred, right? Like that's the other thing too, is that Taylor has done such a great job at honoring that character of Alfred.
Yeah.
And what he means, not just to Bruce, but everyone. It's been tremendous.
I'm going to fly through a few of these indies here before we get to a few others that we have single issues we want to break down. But we got IDW, of course. Joe loves Usagi Yojimbo. We got issue 28 here. TMNT, Best of Rat King. I don't know what the hell that is. Who knows? AWA, Hit Me, issue 3. You've been reading the first two, right? Okay.
Yep.
I should have called dibs on this one. Dynamite. I've learned. Dynamite, Hell Sonia, issue 5. Source Point Press, Good Boy, Director's Cut, issue 1. Cover of Darkness, issue 5, which I know you've been trying to read that, but you've been having issues, right?
Fucking Comixology. Fucking Comixology.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, they make it so I can't read it. So if Newbury Comics doesn't, order it, then how am I fucking read this book? Plus, they fucked us again, fucking with Barnstormers.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I will say. The fact that Scott's got that whole thing going on right now, to me, I know it's like we're talking about Amazon versus Scott Snyder, but like Scott's one of the biggest names in comics, obviously. So like if somebody's gonna you're gonna have to listen to, and Chip's over there too, right? So like you got these guys there like are doing some serious stuff. Lemire, if you're screwing up their stuff and this is how they make their living, I would think it's gonna lead some problems.
Because League of Comic Geek says it was coming out 2 weeks ago, and I checked. And I checked with Comixology, and Comixology said it was coming out this week. And there was on League of Comic Geeks, again, coming out this week. I go to download it this morning to read it, and then it says July 19th. That's a big fucking difference from, May 17th. Like, God.
So no Barnstormers yet, even though we thought we had it this week. More from Source Point, though. My Brother Teddy, issue 1. From Titan, we got Rivers of London, Deadly Ever After, issue 1. And then we got a few from Boom and Image that we did want to highlight. From Image, we'll start. We got Slumber, issue 3. A Town Called Terror, issue 2, which we both liked that first one. Did you read the second one? Because I liked it quite a bit.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah. We've also got Bolero, issue 5, which you've been reading. And then New Masters, issue 4. Two I wanted to highlight though. King Spawn issue 10. We talk about all this black, white, and blood stuff that's going on, and I open up you see the cover, and it's like in black and white. I didn't think anything of it. Then you start reading, and then it's like, oh my god, they're actually it was kick ass, but it's like they're totally doing the same thing Marvel's been doing right now.
Yeah, except when Marvel does it, there's a couple of stories in each book, right? This was just one story. It was just black, white, and red colors.
Yep.
And the
furthering the larger King Spawn story too.
Yeah, right. And the Javi pages. The art in this was phenomenal. The story again was top notch as always, but I think the artwork for this particular issue, and I would love to get a chance to talk to Sean again and ask him about this. Like, what was the decision, the thought process about doing that? Because it was excellent. It was like, okay, all right, it's something different, something new, and I'm in it. I'm enjoying King Spawn, and this issue was fucking tremendous.
Yeah, it really was, and there's so much here with Terry too, who is a fine character and everything, but I really enjoyed what they did with him here.
Oh, and the action scenes, and it was mostly told from his, it was this was more than anything a Terry book, which was great because it really enhanced the overall story. But
there are a lot of questions about what's going on with Spawn right now, and this is where I really like Gunslinger Spawn. It is as grounded as a heaven and hell story can kind of be of these Spawn books. The Scorch is out of its mind, and I do enjoy it. And then obviously there's the main Spawn that I'm always going to read and appreciate. But King Spawn is absolutely the best Spawn book that's out there right now. If you're going to only read one, you should be reading King Spawn. Like, and it's they're like Sean and Javi have not missed yet. So definitely one to pick up. I'm gonna pick up their trade. I love friggin' the cover they have for that too. It's badass. So then another book that it had popped up on my radar, but I missed it, kind of got lost, whatever. But I Hate This Place, issue 1, which is kind of how I felt throughout part of the Dork live show. Not because of Idle Hands, because I love Idle Hands, but because of those 4 schmucks on the mics. But you read this, I didn't read it.
Yeah, this was one where I was like this morning. I'm trying to pick and choose which books I'm going to read last minute for the show today, and I just stopped reading Savage Avengers. I was gonna read Bolero because I've been enjoying that, but I said no. It's the number 1 Image. Let me give it a shot. I Hate This Place. I didn't really know what it was about, and it's a horror book, and it's fantastic. The art is
Dibs.
I think it's total dibs. The art, while necessarily isn't my favorite style, I think plays really well into the horror vibe. Gives a really good horror vibe, and the way this book starts, and then the way it ends, and then all the crazy shit that we get in the middle. This was an A+ first issue.
Wow.
Yeah,
I Hate This Place. Okay, there we go. Well,
place.
I'll have to give it a look and see if that maybe knocks off Nightwing for Comic of the Week. And then from Boom, of course, we got Power Rangers 19. I'm a little behind on the Power Ranger stuff right now, but been working on catching up. Angel issue 5, Faithless 3. Issue 4. Then we got 2 other ones that we did want to highlight really quickly from me. Alice Ever After issue 2. I don't know if I had said I'm not sure if I want to call dibs.
You called dibs.
I did. Okay. And after reading the second issue, very happy that I did, because it's it's a lot of pandemonium, and it's quite a bit on mental health stuff. It's very interesting.
I don't think you called dibs. I think I graciously gave you dibs.
Well, why don't you tell me about House of Slaughter? How's that sound?
Okay.
Dick.
So, House of Slaughter. This is a book that I've not been so keen on, with its first run. It's starting a second arc, and I gotta tell you, if it wasn't for Nightwing, this might be my favorite issue this week. I fucking loved it. It was tremendous. It's kicking off a new arc. It again, like House of Slaughter, as as we've talked about, right? We're getting more behind the scenes stuff of the different houses, in this world. And I didn't love the characters in the first arc. The story, nothing about it really. I didn't know where they were going with it. Like, how was this supposed to really play into, the larger thing with, something is killing the children. But the first arc, just to me, it wasn't my cup of tea, right? This issue comes in, we get introduced to new characters, and it was excellent. The storytelling, I was pulled in, I was fascinated. This was revolved around a character I don't know anything about. I want to know more about him. I want to know more about this particular, sect of, the Order of St. George, because the color of one's mask, determines sort of what they do. Are they hunters, or are they more leader? And so it was absolutely fascinating. I can't wait for the next issue. This is where they should have started. I get why they started where they did, but this was fucking fantastic.
That's wild. I cannot believe how happy, how much you liked it in the end.
I loved it. This was, to me, this felt like a Something is Killing the Children book without, and what it did too is this accomplished something the first arc did. There wasn't any monsters. We didn't see it, but it was just perfectly done. So much more, better executed than the first arc was. I was stunned. I was like, okay, House of Slaughter number 6. I'm going to read it because I've really been enjoying Something's Killing Children. And I was like, fuck, yes, all right, let's do it. It was fantastic.
Well, I'm glad at least you got that as a consolation prize for reading it all in the end, because I know you were very disappointed
I
throughout
was.
all of Something's Killing the Children. We look to Dark Horse for this week too to round things out. We got Black Hammer Reborn issue 12, Breakout issue 2, Count Crowley Amateur Monster Hunter issue 2, and then Shaolin Cowboy Cruel to Be Kin issue 1. And that leads us into the book that you're talking about this week, which, as I look to who the writer and artist are of this, I do remember you 100% telling me about this book.
Yeah, you might have been a little hammercocked
Hmm,
on Sunday when I was talking about this.
maybe.
But 44 minutes into the show, we're just getting to it now. It tells you what
Yep.
kind of a week it was. But yes, I am talking A Study in Emerald from Dark Horse Comics, written by Neil Gaiman and Raphael Scavone. Artist is Raphael Albuquerque. Colors Dave Stewart and letters Todd Klein. This is a 4-issue series that was released in 2018, and I had no idea I was going to do this book this week. I was planning on doing something else. When I got to Idle Hands on Sunday, I got there a little early just to kind of sit and have a beer and wait for you guys to show up. And I'm looking through and I'm like, okay, what should I catch up on?
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm going through Hoopla and I go, oh, I forgot about this. And I fucking flew through the first 3 issues. And it's only a 4-issue series before you
Oh,
guys got there. And I was like, this is friggin' awesome. And I remember talking to you about it. I talked to Keith and Davey about it real quick. Just asked them if they had heard about it. And they hadn't. But when you look at the names, I mean, Gaiman and Albuquerque and Stewart, I mean, like, that's a fucking team, man. Like,
yeah.
and so, synopsis: the supernatural mystery set in the world of Sherlock Holmes and Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos features a brilliant detective and his partner as they try to solve a horrific murder. The complex investigation takes the Baker Street investigators from the slums of Whitechapel all the way to the Queen's Palace as they attempt to find the answers to the bizarre murder of a cosmic horror. So, like, this is right in Gaiman's, wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Albuquerque's art absolutely nails it. The colors, like Stewart did a tremendous job with the colors here. And like, it was only 4 issues. It's not a ton, but it was like perfect. Like, they really told a great story within those 4 issues. Had they gone 5 or 6, like, I'm sure like they would have done a great job with it, but like 4 just kind of felt like perfect. It was tight, it's condensed right in those 4 issues. You fly right through it. And that's not a knock on it. Sometimes you fly through it, sometimes you're like, oh, 4 issues, is it, are you really gonna get your money's worth there? You absolutely are. So, sort of as the synopsis implies, this takes place. It's a in the world of Sherlock Holmes, and it's, fans of Sherlock Holmes, will love this book. I mean, I love Sherlock Holmes. We talk about it all the time. Like, I love mystery type stories.
Took you for more of a Watson guy, I gotta be honest.
Well, Doc,
Hmm.
we are two fine doctors, and
Yeah.
so
How'd you
knowing
pick up
that,
on that?
well,
Only
I'm a
underhanded
doctor,
to you. Yeah. Yeah,
dumbass.
there you go. Yes.
So, like, what you get when you're talking about Sherlock Holmes. You're going to get a great story, and there's going to be twists. So
Hmm.
this is a case where I could say there are twists without it being a spoiler, because if you don't know that going to a Sherlock Holmes story ahead of time, then you just never read the character before. You're
Hmm.
unfamiliar. And with this book, because it's dealing also with H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu, it's got that supernatural fantasy kind of vibe to it, which Sherlock Holmes stories sometimes do have that vibe to them, like the Hounds of Baskerville, I should say, has sort of like this supernatural vibe to it until you get to the end, and sort of it all comes together. And the name A Study in Emerald is a take on A Study in Scarlet, which is one of the more famous Sherlock books. So you get a lot of really great Sherlockian type misdirection in this story, but you also get some great Gaiman misdirection. And so
Hmm.
I think, Gaiman obviously is a fan of Sherlock Holmes. He really understands the character, and writes him well, and writes, all the characters, in that world very well. So you feel like you're reading a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, but it's got that Gaiman pizzazz to it. And Albuquerque's art, like I said, like, his art's fantastic, but I really think it's Stewart's colors that really
Hmm.
sort of put it over, because like it just got that Victorian 1800s era London feel to it,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
the colors are dark, but when you get the bright, it pops, right? As you can, for those watching,
Mhm.
you can see just the black and white, but that pop of green really like kind of sticks out. It's got that watercolor feel to it. Um, so the story that you get from start to finish is excellent, and the title of each book, as you would expect, is a clue. And then, like, when you open up the first page of each book, sort of has like an old timey ad in it, which the first time through I didn't read because I just thought it was just part of the ambiance of the book. But I went back and looked at them again, and there's little clues embedded in through there. And so
Wow.
this is a series that it's a quick read, but you can go back and read it again because you're going to pick up on the breadcrumbs. It's like watching a Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch,
Wow.
on
I
the
thought you were going to say
BBC.
Basil of Baker Street. I thought you were going that route.
Like you watch that show, yeah, this, but the more you watch it, the more things you pick up on. That's what makes a Sherlock Holmes story so great, is picking up on the small things after the fact. And so you get that here. And so it's a quick book. I was very, very surprised by it because this was something that was at the Amazon store and I saw it was hardcover, but it was like $20. It's like, and then I looked, oh, it's on Hoopla. So I put it on there and then I
Hmm.
completely forgot about it. And so I was like, let me give it a go. And I just flew through it. So like, if you're a
Gaiman's a
fan of it,
beast, man.
he really is. And you know
Brilliant.
what I'm stunned with more than anything is that he hasn't done more of these. Like this was 2018. It was 4 years ago. You would think because this like the world that he's created here with Albuquerque, he could do more of these. He could do more takes on Sherlock Holmes and mixing in more macabre stuff, more fantasy stuff, get a little weird with it as Gaiman is wont to do. And like this was excellent. I
Hmm.
want more of these. I want an entire series of these.
I know he doesn't look from my understanding, he doesn't just look at comics and be like, it was a means to an end to get to where I wanted to get to, or all these different things, or like I know he has respect for the medium, but like I do also understand like the guy's like a legit novelist, like he's obviously been that way
Yeah,
for like a long time. But I wonder if that's why like he just doesn't make time for it
yeah,
because like
maybe.
it's done so much. And obviously in the movies too. What am I saying? I mean the shows and stuff that he's got going on, like Good Omens. Did you watch that by the way?
I did not.
You know, it's really good. If you like British humor, it's funny.
Yeah, I'll have to check that
Anyways.
out. Anyway, so that is a study in Emerald. Like I said, there's some great twists in the way that this ends. I went, what?
Hmm.
How? Like that's the thing with Sherlock Holmes. Like sometimes the obvious is right in your face and you never see it. It's right there,
Hmm.
plain as fucking dead. You don't see it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. And then you go back and you look at it. And then, like I said, it's all there. And you're like, God, man, fucking A. It's excellent. Can't talk about it enough.
Hmm. Wow, this is one that I've never heard of before, and I don't know if I've ever seen a Dark Horse thing on Hoopla, at least like knowingly. That's maybe I've seen some of the Norse mythology stuff in there, but that's awesome. Wow, what a little find! Look at that, huh?
Yeah, that was a great little hidden gem there.
So, do you think with this, like when we talk about like show movie kind of thing, is it something that could get turned into something like that, like a little one off thing, or is that kind of
If
too
he had a
hard to?
series of these out, I'd say make it a show. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because
What
you
about
could
like a
just do
Netflix movie by
this
itself?
would make a great like Netflix movie,
Hmm.
right? Like if it's just this title and he was just doing a one-off, like make it. But like if he had a series of these out, I'd say make it a show. And like what the BBC did with Sherlock, it doesn't have to be each
Hmm.
episode 2 hours plus long
Hmm.
or whatever. But you could make this could be an episode, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah, this is like a quite the team though. Like I know you talked about it a little bit, but looking at like Gaiman and Albuquerque, he's just like, huh? Like
Yeah,
what? Like why have I never heard
I
of
don't
this?
even need read a synopsis. And I
Yep.
had no idea. Like I said, I saw it. I was like, oh, but I was like, I didn't want to spend $20 because it is kind of thin.
Hmm.
4 issues, it's not a ton. And then I found it on Hoopla.
You and Billy. Okay.
Wait,
But
Billy likes them thick. What are you talking about?
yeah, you did, and you don't like him thin. Yeah. See what I did there.
Yeah,
Anyways, it is time for for me to get to my book. And we talked about like, docket and kind of like this random pull out of nowhere, as much as it is a gaming book. Mine is about as random as it gets. I'm talking about Animal Castle from Ablaze Publishing this week. And I've mentioned them on here a few times because of Animal Castle. And then of course it's Life Zero was the other book that I read, but only saw the first issue. I haven't seen second or third one since. So they're not as like big, but they are around right now. Ablaze Publishing is like some random one that we pulled out of nowhere that's kind of like defunct that we found on Comixology or something like that. Like what's the one? Was it Avatar Press? I don't think is around anymore, and that was the Ennis that messed up Ennis story that I told you guys about. Like, don't read that with kids around. I'm blanking on the Crossed. Don't read that with kids around, or like your significant others. Whether it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Just make sure your significant other doesn't see you reading that. They're going to ask a lot of questions. Lauren still hasn't seen that yet. So, anyways, but Animal Castle from Ablaze Studios, written by Xavier Dorison, art by Felix Delep, colors by Felix Delep and Jessica Bedard, and then letters by Tom Napolitano. And the covers are all done by Felix Delep, but they have a little bit of a different vibe than the actual interior art, but still there's some awesome shit. And I believe the cover that I'm showing you guys right now, this is the first one. I believe this is going to be the cover for the first trade, which is supposed to come out in July. If you go to your local comic shop and they have like the previews, the big like previews catalog that at least I know my place orders, you'll see that cover that I just shared, the first issue on that now. I guess they bought it out or whatever that for the July issue. But as you can see, Joe, there's some pretty awesome covers. And this is like, this art is not art where I look at it and it's like, oh, this is like this crazy badass art. Like we're talking about animals, like legit, like, cats, dogs, cows.
How I felt about Stray Dogs. Like I didn't initially want to read it because I thought it was going to be silly.
But this is where at Time Capsule in Seekonk, where I pick up my comics, the guy Jeff behind the counter like mentioned it to me. He said it was the first issue was really cool, and it's a lot like it's Animal Castle, but like more fucked up. And like Animal Castle was
you mean it's Animal Farm?
Sorry, Animal Farm. Excuse me. It's all like Animal Castle is like Animal Castle, and it's also like Animal Farm. God, my brain is not like there's something not connecting this week. I swear.
This week?
Well played, sir. But Animal Farm, which did you read that in middle school? Because I feel like that's when I read that book.
Yeah, I think middle school, high school. I think probably actually.
Okay, okay. Hey, you were in the. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there.
Anyways, I'm slow because I'm from Canada, eh?
With Animal Farm, the focus is the Russian Revolution, and of course, it's a commentary on communism. This is focused on communism, but it's kind of more general about communism, not a specific story. The synopsis really short, and I mean, when I heard it, I was like, I'm in. On the farm, all animals are equal. In the castle, some are more equal than others.
Take that commie pinko bullshit out of here, Nicholas.
Right? 5 issues, and that's what the collected edition is going to be. There should be more of this down the line. If you're going to pick up if you're more of a trades person, pick it up when that comes out, because selfishly, I want them to make more of this comic. It was really good, and they left it at a point where you'll be fine if we don't go back to it. It was a well-told story and definitely like an unsettling ending. But at the same time, I would like more. There's more to be hashed out and everything. Now, the main character in this, you've seen her on the cover, on a few of the covers I shared already, Miss B. She is a cat. She is a mother. And Joe, if you were putting a cat in like the real world where they had to do like real jobs, would construction worker be on your short list?
No, I put cat. Cat would take whatever job you give a fucking asshole.
Well, okay.
Cats stink.
Anyways, that's wow. Okay.
I hope Swaggy didn't hear that.
What?
I hope Swaggy didn't hear that.
Oh,
all she wants is a cat.
I can't wait to see her next. I'm gonna get her a bunny mask, and I'm gonna get her a real cat. She's gonna love me. All right, but no, she isn't a construction worker, and obviously not an ideal job for a cat. But
no way a cat's being a construction worker.
No, and like this isn't like a cat like walking up on her.
The cat would be the foreman walking around.
Well, the dogs are the form, and the dog. I'll get to those in a second. But you have Miss B, who's the main character. You have Caesar, who is a rabbit, and actually, this job kind of makes sense. He is a gigolo, essentially, or a male prostitute, however you want to look at it.
Rabbits do fuck.
Yep. Yeah, there is that saying. So that's Caesar, and he's another cool character. Miss B has two kittens that brings them together because these two are neighbors. You have President Silvio, and when you look at that cover I was talking about that you'll find on the trade, you'll see.
Oh, is he the bull?
He is the ox, yes, or bull.
Ox, yeah.
But you see Miss B, and then you see him, and man, he's president. But I mean, there have been other people who've called themselves presidents, some maybe in our lifetime, some maybe before our lifetime, who've been questionable, when it comes to being a president. This guy is absolutely right there, bit of adult. Then he has his henchmen / like police kind of, and those are the dogs. And they don't have names. They are numbers. And number 1 is a moron. Number 2 is very smart. And number 2 as like, hey, trying to make his own moves and everything like that too. He's pretty vicious. But also he has to still answer to number 1 quite a bit. But yeah, so some awesome characters. Then we got Daisy, who is a duck, not married to Donald in this one.
That's a little on the nose.
Yes. She is the nanny for Miss B's cats. Now, in all this, like we talk about how there's what is it? The Russian Revolution is what Animal Farm is kind of based off of. In this, we do get a lot of chaos. Like we're talking about communism and stuff, but like issues do arise. Like you can't just go and have this manifesto about communism and have it be a comic and have me hooked for the entire time. Contrary to what you might try and lead the people to believe, Joe, in your propaganda bullshit.
Well,
but
I didn't know you were part of the PCP program.
Actually, that's funny. I didn't even think of that as I was talking about it and changed my mind. Fuck. Anyways, these animals have this miserable existence. And they have like Silvio and the dogs are supposedly protecting them from a wolf attack, which I guess happened once, but it was like a long time ago. Humans are supposedly not around anymore. So that's why these powerful animals are kind of driving the bus. But then in that first issue, Joe, we get this one like occurrence that happens. And from that, like, it's just like, nope, like none of this is okay anymore. And it leads to people calling for change, and then like other characters are brought in the mix that kind of show how change can be made. And then, but at the same time, where you and I may want to have change in one way, that doesn't mean that like Billy or Rossi would want to have change in the same way. Like we may want the same thing to happen, but we may want to go about it different ways. And there's a lot of complications with that in the course of the story. And you just, you get like, the passive, like Gandhi sort of stuff, but then you also have some more violent approaches to it too. It's just, how do you do that? And then how does the other side counteract it? So really, really enjoyed it. And then the art style too with it too. Like these are not like these badass looking characters or anything like that, but they do draw, the violence is really well done. It gets pretty vicious throughout all of this too. But it's like a little bit goofy sometimes with the art too, but it's like, it's very like, just to give you kind of a look. I think they do a really good job with it throughout all this. So
yeah, it's almost got a Stray Dogs vibe to it. Not as cartoony, but still.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this. This is one book that I've been dying, and I easy one for me to call dibs on because you don't get exposure to Ablaze. Not that I get much of it, but I was very excited to share this with you guys today. So yeah. So Animal Castle, the first trade is gonna, or maybe the only trade, I don't know, is gonna be out available in July. I don't know the exact date, and with everything with delays, I don't want to give you guys an exact date either. So,
no, awesome. That it's funny how that works because like this is again, as I mentioned with Stray Dogs, it's a book with animals. It's like, I feel like it's gonna be silly, and that's why we do the show. And then so someone said, "Oh, you really got it," and I heard really good things about it. So I grabbed it, I read it, and absolutely loved it. So it's just like I don't feel like Talking Animals is in our wheelhouse. But the two books that each of us have read so far about it have knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more on that front.
Yeah.
So before we get going, we did have the Dork Shared Gooniverse comics. It was all-time comic book movies, top 25 recently. The one thing that I just wanted to say off of all of it, where everybody's like talking about the animated stuff, I did actually mess up in one way. I said Justice League Dark instead of Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. So if you are like Mac and want to go watch and figure out why I have that as my number 12 movie on my list, that you want to watch Apocalypse War. Justice League Dark was not on my list. It would not make my list. It's a fine movie. I do enjoy it, but Apocalypse War is the one that is there. So just wanted to put that out there to the people. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I felt like I had a pretty good list.
You did well for yourself. It says a lot.
Well, I mean, I talked about I left Shazam off. That was a big omission. And then going back because I hadn't looked at my list since I sent it. Crow and 300 not being on my list as well. I didn't put movies on my list I didn't see, so I didn't have Joker on there because I just haven't watched it. I didn't have Harley Quinn, the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, the blah 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 blah. But I think what I had Captain Marvel ranked 35. That was the one movie, the highest ranked movie I had that wasn't listed.
That's pretty good.
I had 41 books or movies that made the list. So, all in all, I think I did a good job.
I think you had more than that. You had, I think, Joe,
Credit to me.
You might have had the lowest misses. It was between you, Goo, and Keith, I believe. I will say the fact that you didn't have Blade. I know you didn't have Blade 2, which I didn't have Blade 2 either, and that one was a little bit of a surprise for me. But Shazam, leaving Shazam off, like it was on my list. I had it at 39 though. Like when you say, "Oh, it's not."
Yeah, but that was a surprisingly good movie.
Actually, I had it at 29. No, never mind. I had
that was a surprise. I enjoyed that movie very much. That should have been on my list.
What was the other one? The Crow would have if I didn't have some of the animated ones that I did have because I had Justice League Dark, I had Superman Red Sun, I had Red Hood, Batman Under the Red Hood. The Crow was on my short list of the movies.
I think part of the reason why I think I left The Crow off because I don't think I've watched that movie since it. When did that movie come out? Mid-90s?
Yeah, it's been a long. Maybe early.
Right, early night. Yeah, I haven't watched that movie in a very long time, decades. Yeah. So I was like, eh.
I will. So I think you, Keith, and Goo, like I said, had the shortest amount of misses. Davey and I believe Rossi actually led everybody. Then Davey, then Wes. I was in that middle ground with Billy, and I think Shine might have been on your end of the spectrum.
Meaty part of the curve, right? That's a good place to be.
Yep. So, other than that, keep your peepers popped, and stay sexy, Joe.
You know it.